Welcome to the Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And this week on the very special Halloween Weekly, which you could never tell, the only thing missing is the chat. Where did the chat go? By the end of this podcast, you'll know. We'll solve the mystery. So this week, Trench Crusade Kickstarter doing quite well. They hit 1 million.
We surprised?
Yeah, no. Yeah, they already had a really good following. Baldur's Gate 3 reunion, under the not the best category. Mythic Carpathia for Vaesen, and Bludgeon TTRPG system.
Hit people with a bat?
Yes, that's all it is. It's just blunt weapon combat. All right, let's start with the monster that is Trench Crusade. So the big news that I just saw in an update was they've now got, because they're over $1 million, they've got Andy Chambers and Graham McNeil working with them now. So this has got a lot of former GW. Yeah. So and basically this idea, the game concept, is based on the work of a Diablo concept artist, and then of course the rules are written by one of the co-writers of Mordheim. So a miniature skirmish game, and it's Mike Franchina, who is the concept artist that kind of developed the setting, and then the rules were developed by Tuomas Pirinen, and it is World War I with a wild alternate history, which kind of begins in 1096 and during the First Crusade. Yeah. So First Crusade goes all the way, and so some of that frozen setting reminds me a little bit of like the aesthetic choices for like Mutant Chronicles and stuff, where it looks trenchy and a lot of the any vehicles and stuff are much more primitive and less insane. But they've also got John Blanche working on it. So, and the list of artists that are contributing just sold me on the book. Like, I have to have this book just because of the artists that they have working. So Franchina says, essentially, it is World War I with demons. 800 years ago, during the First Crusade, the Templars entered Jerusalem. In some secret vaults below the city, they uncovered a kind of demonic artifact that and they're tempted by this thing. They opened a portal to hell, and shenanigans
ensue. I mean, isn't that always like, just once, I would like some kind of franchise where you open the gate and everything gets better.
Yeah, right. Oh, wow, it's so nice. There's a pleasant smell.
Yeah. No, opening the gate is never good, right? No.
Yes, that's true. So there's been a quick start version of the rules available for a long time. It's only 2 pages long, but it's given people the ability to play. And there haven't been miniatures. There was an earlier Kickstarter by one of the main sculptors that's working on it, and I got the fulfillment of that. Those are gorgeous minis. They're really nice.
I got there were those big, tall, lanky robot things, right? Mm-hmm. I got his kind of own sculpts of that.
Right.
So they're
so they did the
weird looking. Yeah.
Independent Kickstarter and did some resin for that, but this is like the official minis of all of their 6 kind of factions for it. They are going to produce a 220 some page hardback with slick new art and some unique game innovations. And the thing that is the most unique is about this system is the turn order. So they're calling Trench Crusade a kind of a freeform turn order. Okay. And Pirinen said there are obviously some limitations depending on how heavy your weapon is and whatnot, but you can dash, then shoot, charge, and then you can jump from a high place, shoot, then dash into cover to get out of the way. And depending on what actions you have, there are lots of options. So otherwise you would always take every action, but if you fail a risky action, then that's the end of the activation. So yeah, kind of like failing to activate a unit, like in War Master, like when we were doing that. Yeah, you're kind of like, oh, okay, let me do. Oh, and we're done.
Okay, on paper, I like that. I like that mechanic. It also kind of reminds me of Rogue Stars, which we have never got a chance to play. It's like, yes, you can attempt as many actions with this model as you want. There's a progressively increasing penalty, and if you fail, then it probably goes to your opponent, right? So yes, there is a nice kind of strategy or tactical thing about deciding which to do first. Right. And like in War Master, trying to decide, okay, which do I really need to get off in case I fail the roll? Let me tell you, when you fail, roll after roll after roll after roll, and your whole army sits there and does nothing the entire turn, that sucks. Yeah, so hopefully like initial activations are very, very almost guaranteed, that it's very random, or very, very rare that that happens. But so you could leave your, you could fall off of a wall, you could leave your unit out in the open to be shot at, depending on how far you're going to push your luck. So so the Kickstarter is available. We haven't played it yet, but I think I've read a version of the Quick Start, and it was definitely longer than 2 pages, right?
Okay.
Like something, and I was saying offline, like, okay, the setting is really gross and cool and like interesting. I don't know if I would want to play it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it looks heavier than kind of the type of game I want to play right now.
Yeah. No, I get that. So they're producing 60 miniatures for this Kickstarter, but the game so far has been relying on a lot of customized miniatures. The thing that they're going to do, this will kind of prove whether this works or not. The thing that they're doing is this is going to be direct to table is what they're calling it. So you can receive printed resin of all of the models or all the miniatures that they're producing, or you can just get the STL files and print them yourself. And that means that they're not doing molds. There's no tooling. The manufacturing is going to be 3D printing coming from games only. Yeah. And I think they're in the UK based.
I think they might have other places.
Oh, right, yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, it's digital. But so there's 6 factions, and we've seen so there's renders of everything on the pages, and we've seen some of the early sculptors. The sculptor that's working on this has done his own early versions of some of the units, and it's a pretty interesting range. They've added things like the Iron Sultanate to give you a little like more Islamic medieval look. And so it's a nice range of variety, from very demonic to like heavily armored kind of Templar looking miniatures, but all with that aesthetic, that kind of limited technology aesthetic of like it kind of stopped at World War I. Stopped at early 20th century. So doesn't that mean that one person has to buy the game and then they can just send all the put the miniatures on a site for everybody to download? Well, they're expecting people won't do that because there's been so much support of the game already. So Pirinen said fans will be cool about not committing widespread acts of piracy. So he goes on to say, we want people to be playing the game. Is the thing. We reckon that people who want to support us don't want to pirate us. We have this dream that people can play the game with our miniatures, and you are free to use any miniatures they want. And they've already, even on the Kickstarter page, they say we support kit bashing. We really want you to, that's the thing that's gone, is the creativity of war games, because there's so much pre-made stuff, and some companies want you to buy this set goes with this set goes with this scenario.
I guess I'm not surprised that they are producing their own miniatures, but like what I hit on Trench Crusade was the original artist, and then it kind of people were just, I think, like kit bashing models, or their playable rules came out, but there weren't official things for anything until that original Kickstarter. But you go scroll through Instagram and there's a lot of just kit bashed or scratch built miniatures for Trench Crusade. So I guess it's just kind of like icing on the cake for them to say, and here's the official ones. Right. But we'll see if it works, right? But the idea of just, we're not putting in any kind of security features, just trusting people to not.
Yeah, and I think hopefully, I think the people that will steal it, like, there'll be somebody that'll support it just to post it or whatever, or just ask, can I see your files? And but the people that are going to steal it wouldn't have bought it anyhow, so they're really not going to support. They're not going to be part of the community. They're not going to support it. They just want to be digital hoarders or whatever. And but hopefully someone's not going to be stupid enough to compete with Only Games and try to print and sell the stuff online. But the nice thing though is with digital files, that doesn't end kit bashing, because you can slice up, you can make pieces and parts of the digital files. So you can print them out and cut them up, or you can actually, in the digial version, just say, I'm just going to do all heads, I'm going to do all arms. So it'll still let that kit bashing thing exist. And Pirinen went on to say about John Blanche, me and John worked for 6 years together at Games Workshop, and he just happened to retire and said, I'm going to draw some stuff for you. John is a force of nature, so you don't tell him what to do. He's also the most senior fantasy artist alive in the world today in sci-fi, so you just let him go.
Most senior fantasy artist in the world of sci-fi.
Yeah, that's
most senior sci-fi artist. I don't know.
Yes, but there's a real nice list. So Dave Gallagher, Paul Bonner, Valen Matias, Serbian artist Artem Demura, and illustrator and tattoo artist Martin McCoy and Mortis Kreb are working all working on. So they're saying there's a lot of good art in the book. So got to get the book. It looks like it's real tempting. And because the rules are probably always going to remain free, you'll be able to play the game, without having to buy the book. And that's what they said is the book is going to it has to get printed. So it's going to be out in the middle of next year. But as soon as this is finished, the digital files go out, and it's just going to be a few weeks before you start getting them from Only Games. Am I saying it backwards? Games Only? Only
no,
Games?
Only Games. It's Only
Okay,
Games, yeah.
Only Games. Yeah, so
Which
they just
has more than Only Games, but anyway.
they just broke 1 million, and the website for the Kickstarter goes into the descriptions of the factions and kind of gives you the flavor. They're also doing custom dice, which are produced by another third party, so that's another weight, and things may be arriving separately. But things look really good. The campaign, kind of what they're thinking with this is the campaign's only going to be 2 weeks.
Okay.
And so you can pledge as much as you like, bearing in mind that you'll be able to add things, after it closes in the pledge manager. So if you just get in for a minimum amount, and some of the pledge levels, sticking with the 666 and the triple digits got pretty pricey. So you can get everything they're producing, physically for, I think it was like $880. Everything's physical or everything digital was like $666. So I can see why they're over 1 million, because if you're all in on this game, there's some pretty pricey pledges. I think it's kind of gimmicky though, because you can choose. Right. Yeah, there's much more reasonable stuff, but I thought that was a funny way to do it. And so the digital files are going to be fulfilled by My Mini Factory, so you'll get those right away into your account and can start printing. And if you don't 3D print and are going to wait for Only Games, they said 2 weeks. Okay. Yeah, so that's really
2 weeks, bro.
Yeah, they'll be in.
Who knows how quickly Only Games?
They're going to get a bunch of orders. Yeah, they're going to get thousands of orders all at the same time. So June 2025, they're saying for the books, and Baron of Dice is producing their custom dice. Okay. So they've got a great list of everybody involved and their backgrounds on the page. Yeah, it's quite impressive, and it's got a good community. They said before the Kickstarter launched, they had 14,000 people following it. So they've got a good fan base already. So yeah, we'll see how much more this gruesome setting rakes in. And yes, I definitely had to go for the book, but I'm going to kind of wait and see, because I wasn't sure faction wise, and if I don't have anybody playing with me, it's going to be kind of silly.
Why did you point at me when you said that?
Because it's going to be kind of silly too. That's going to be kind of silly to have a faction. But so that's great though. It's good to see that kind of that right thinking, and a bunch of, things are aligning. There's a lot of talent that is not at Games Workshop that's producing games now, so that's good.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Exactly. All right, so I'm not gonna risk it, but imagine there's a wonderful animation where the titles drop down and said not the best. Because if I crash the stream again, then
it really is not the best.
This will be not the best. Yes. So if you had a very successful game license with a studio that no longer wanted to work with you, how could you still capitalize on that success? So Larian Studios is saying, we're not doing any more D&D. We're doing our own thing. Okay. But there was a reunion of Baldur's Gate voice actors. Okay. So Baldur's Gate 3 voice actors for a live stream that they did at the Comic-Con in London on, I think, the 27th. So just a few days ago, called What We Do in the Shadow Cursed Lands.
Not a fan of punny titles. I'm sorry.
So the voices of Asterion, Will, Lazelle, and Karlash.
Ask us if we play video games.
Yes. All appeared, and Jeremy Crawford was the DM. So this was all organized. This idea and the kind of initiative to do this was Greg Tito, who is no longer Wizards of the Coast, and so live streaming these actual plays at conventions. And the funny thing that they said is, this actual play used the 5.5 or the revised rules because Jeremy Crawford had special access to the Dungeon Master's Guide. Okay, whatever.
I'm sure that came through.
Yeah, right. I'm sure. Wow, this feels totally different. So they've done this before in previous years, and last time was a surprisingly horny "Love is a Legendary" actual play, which I guess was 5e. I don't know how horny 5e gets, but it was on the 27th. It's available video on demand on the YouTube channel. It is up on the YouTube channel. Might have to check that out. Because,
Okay, I don't like D&D. I think My feelings are online. I'm not going to repeat them. Whatever. But your initial question, if you had a very successful video game and the company that made it then no longer wants to work with you, and your game company, this does seem like a logical step, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. We can get the voice actors to play their characters in the system of the game we've played.
Right.
We're going to hopefully get audience from people who like playing our tabletop game as well as people who've played the video game are fans of these voice actors. So I can't fault the logic here, right?
And it's kind of an end run against building up a Critical Role style group that people start to love. They already love those voices, you know. So
build an audience.
You're benefiting, and you're not paying anything but the voice actors. You know, you're not paying the studio or anything because they license it from you. So this is an interesting way. And if they keep doing this, let other people do all the hard work and then they just benefit from the success. It'll be interesting. But so I will have to see what the overall reaction was to this, if it worked, because, you know, voice actors are not always geeks. They sometimes are just professional actors that need to eat that, you know, have to.
One of the biggest steps of becoming an adult is realizing that actors got to eat and pay bills too. And you're like, why did you do that? And you're like, I needed to pay off a mortgage, right?
Yes.
So it's like, why did you do this thing? Money, right? Money's good. We all like money, right? So.
Yes. But so I thought that was a little funny, interesting strategy, and it makes sense. But now for the lightning round, more not the best news. So here's just a series of headlines, of course, the stuff that Wizards is screwing with. So the Legend of Vox Machina is renewed for a 4th season. So they're still playing 5e. That kind of counts as Wizards news, right? The Scions of Elemental Evil is available on D&D Beyond. It features the heroes from the 80s cartoon, all grown up. They add an Asian monk because who knows why, or cleric. I'm sorry, cleric. Who knows why? But you can get the stats for all the magic items, including Bobby's Club, on the D&D Beyond, and D&D Beyond. This came from their recent report, earnings report. Their official online platform has 19 million registered users and reported that a massive 60% of all of their revenue direct to consumer is coming from there. So that's why you're not seeing the books anywhere, is because they don't want to sell you the books. They want to sell you the digital access. Dritz's daughter is getting an Audible exclusive.
You know why they want to sell you the digital access? Because they can just revoke it.
Yeah, you're right. They can change it. Yeah, any mistakes, any political mistakes, weird stuff they make.
Not even revoke. I'm just like, sorry, you know what? We've decided we don't want you to have this book anymore.
Yep. And now you're playing 6th edition. Wait, what happened?
No, but you got to buy it.
Right, and you have to buy it again. Yeah, so Dritz's daughter, we get to find out what happened to her. And then Hasbro, of course, has been hit with layoffs, which has impacted Wizards of the Coast. One of the casualties was Dixon Dubois, who announced on Twitter already that he was leaving the creator relations manager for D&D.
The guy who smoothed over absolutely everything.
Yes, right. So he did all the heavy lifting for the OGL. They're like, get out of here.
That's the thing that made me say, like, okay, come on, people. Like, how many times you got to get stung by the scorpion? Mostly directed at third-party people, right? Producers, but it's just like,
we don't need him anymore. He ain't gonna work here no more. So that's sad. They have a bunch of weird bad news from Games Workshop. So that's happened. Hasbro. I guess
we're surprised about this.
Yeah. Not Games Workshop. Yeah, sorry.
Wizards of the Coast. We're bad news from Games Workshop too. Probably.
Yeah, we didn't include that this week. Yeah, they didn't have an earnings report, so nothing to poke around in. But sorry, Wizards of the Coast, and they're not the best. Well, let's move on to better things. Okay. Mythic Carpathia and the City of My Nightmares for Vaesen. So they're
your nightmares?
My nightmare, our collective nightmares. Okay. So they're releasing more expansions which is great because they already did Mythic Britain and Ireland and another book, a collected book of mysteries, in campaign form. So there was an early pledge, a lapel pin for the Secret Society for if you pledged early, but this is just for 2 book expansions and a starter set. So they're trying to find a way, I think, and Free League has kind of been doing that. If it's not something they know has instant popularity, they see how things are going, and it's like, okay, people are having trouble kind of onboarding. Here's the starter set, because the Tales from the Loop starter set came much later.
Right. Say it with the Alien RPG.
Yeah, right. So it's like, if people hear, well, this is good, but how do I start? What do I buy? It's just like, just do the starter set. Yes. So this is continuation of the Mythic North. So the City of My Nightmares is the expansion that still keeps you in Scandinavia. So it's going to be 19th century Stockholm, and you think the Vaesen are allergic to crowds and city lights. Nope, the city is full in the dark alleys and beneath the cobblestone streets. Monsters lurk. So City of My Nightmares is a full-length campaign in 4 parts. Initially, you're called to Stockholm to investigate grisly murders, but it turns into a deeper mystery featuring the origins of the society itself. But they say also, if you're already kind of set, you don't want to play in Sweden, you've already kind of set it either in England or Eastern Europe or somewhere, it's very easy to port the game to any kind of Gothic metropolitan era of that era. And the... Carpathia, Mythic Carpathia is set in Prague and will introduce the Pravda Society, which is the equivalent kind of secret society in Eastern Europe. The book will include a gazetteer of the city, complete with adventure locations and secret societies, and a chapter with a dozen local mythic beings, including the Drekavac, the Golem, the Baba Yaga, and of course, vampires.
Say that 5 times fast.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And this will also have 3 complete new mysteries that will be set in Prague, Ukraine, and Transylvania. They are also doing a reprint of the core rulebook. So it's an updated version. They're saying it's not a complete, you don't have to buy it if you already have the previous book. You don't have to buy it. They're updating it. A few imbalances and unclarities are fixed. They've added optional simplified rules for combat and damage. But they will give you a PDF of all of those changes for free if you already own the book. So you don't have to buy it unless you're an insane completionist. And they kind of did that with Forbidden Lands too. They changed like 2 or 3 rules and then printed it again and said, you don't have to buy it. It's like literally 2 pages.
If you're a new person.
Yes. Yeah. This will fix it. But if you've already invested, don't worry about it. And the
completionist.
Yes. So the starter set will include a box with abridged rules, character sheets, custom dice, maps, and the introductory mystery, The Haunting of Castle Gillenkreutz. So it'll get you right in, because that's the kind of the base, or the home base of the setting. So it'll get you right into the Haunted Castle mystery right away. So the other thing that they're really going heavily into for this, and I think this works well for Vaesen because it is so atmospheric and eerie. It's supporting the 3 major tabletops. So the VTTs are all going to be available as add-ons, and I think there's even a pledge to get all of them whichever one you play. But this is a serious, through the Kickstarter, it's a serious discount for those because they're pretty expensive on the marketplaces.
Well, because it's like you get art assets with it.
Yes, right? Yeah, you get their art assets, and with the alchemy, you get amazing like animations and like atmospheric music and stuff. So they're available. So that would be Roll20, Alchemy, and Foundry. What they're supporting, and all of this new content as well as the previous content is all available for those VTTs, and it really makes it nice to play. I don't think I would want to play it in person on laptops, but for if you're playing remotely, if you do play on a VTT, it's gorgeous. Yeah, it's really nice assets. They do a good job of customizing everything. The only one I don't have experience of is the Roll20 assets, but I played the other 2. So the cool thing, Mythic Carpathia was written by a team of Polish and Ukrainian writers. So it's not just, let's take a guess at this. And they partnered with Black Monk Games to do that. And City of My Nightmares was written by Kikupuk Herenström and Thomas Herenström, one of the co-founders of Free League. And and so they have written previous mysteries that have all been very fun and playable. So it should be that same wonderful level of mystery and intrigue. But so check that out. Those links to everything in there. And finally, Bludgeon.
Okay.
All right. So I was listening. I was listening to Not D&D, one of the best podcasts out there.
Do they actually talk about Not D&D?
They only talk about Not D&D.
Okay.
So there was a really great interview with the creator, or I guess the co-creator. There's two creators. The co-creator of Bludgeon. So the Bludgeon, the TTRPG system, which they call a crunchy tactical RPG made by a team of Indian designers and artists. So it's basically their dream version, and it sounds like 4E, like Indian inspired 4E, like Indian culture, Indian mysticism inspired 4E. So the designer Tejas Oza kind of went through his kind of history with games, and it sounded remarkably like it really made me think of Ken St. Andre seeing D&D for the first time and go, I don't have those dice, I don't want those dice, I'm going to do a D6 version of this. Okay. I'm going to kind of like take my idea of what D&D should be and do it with D6s. He said his very early game designing was that. It's like, what's my favorite stuff from, Warcraft? What's my favorite stuff? So he took like PC games because he's, based in India. So had, different access to the media, and took what he remembered from famous things and kind of forgot D&D was a thing, and was making D6 based game systems, and just like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to play. And, so they'd have, as they were designing games and systems and things, they would, after the sessions, be, walking home or whatever, just discussing, this is wonderful. We want to do this, and it really started to like congeal into like the perfect game they wanted to play, and that's what Bludgeon is.
So that's what I like to hear. That kind of building, not the crowdsource. Let's make it right. Anyway, yeah.
What does everybody want to play? Yeah. Let's ask a million people. So one of the interesting things is the power sources around the character classes. So they break them down into martial, chakra, primal, arcane, and divine. And so these are scaling systems where power and experience doesn't mean bigger numbers. It just means you've got a more rounded character. There's things like adaptations, class abilities, and passive skills that all feed on these point systems. And some of them are interesting. They are more like, Eastern based or Eastern idea, because it's like a balance scale. So you're adding points, and it's going to either push you this way or this way, and that's going to affect actually how you're going to play your character and what your character is capable of doing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it had a really nice feel. But the thing I liked about it is they're definitely showing their love for like Eurocentric fantasy RPGs, because they didn't get rid of like dwarves and elves and stuff, but it is very Indian flavored. It's very South Asian in its flavor, and especially the artwork too. It's really gorgeous artwork. And there's several books. So this is all on up on itch.io.
Oh, cool.
And so I'll put a link to that. And this is from the book. So suffice to say that this system was created by a group of tactics aficionados who never liked the combat systems that most TTRPGs presented them with. In hindsight, we probably needed an outlet for our shared desire to build tactical games. So we started this project somewhere in early 2013 as a bit of a goof. Something to talk about when we're walking home, and to interject between long drawn out rants about video game development. So it didn't take long for our fun aside to go from random musings to a single working class. So they came up with the concept for how would you build a bard in this perfect system, and then to a hobby. So infusing these rules into our tabletop sessions, and then into a full-fledged undertaking. So it's been a long journey, but we've played different versions of these systems amongst ourselves, learned what worked and what didn't work, and of course corrected whenever we thought it was required. Throughout it all, our pillars for this system have always been the same. And that's that. This is our labor of love, and will continue to be. So we want to create a system that supports roleplay, mechanics that tell the story as much as the player does, and given players as many options as possible.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about how you kind of achieve some of those.
Yeah, especially because they're saying we're tactics based, because it does feel in his description very more 4E, like tactical, and very tracking points, and I'm spending these points to do certain things, and it's enabling certain things. But it was a really wonderful interview, and really nice to see people thinking, taking, not like throwing stuff away, not denying it and saying, oh, that's corrupt, that's garbage. No, that's part of your thinking or your experience of fantasy, but making it your own. I think it was really cool. So really inspiring. So Tabletop Jess was interviewing. So this is an N Publishing podcast. And so, up on their channel.
I'm going to have to go look at this.
See that. Yeah. Very, very fun to hear, and really good to see different parts of the world contributing, because I think there was another DayZ based development, an RPG that we talked about the development of, that they said it was really important that everybody was from South Asia, and we put our culture and thinking into it. And it really does like give you a differently flavored experience.
Well, also kind of like you said about that Mythic Carpathia, just kind of like, okay, here's the Carpathians, and I was like, and who wrote it?
Right.
Okay, cool, right?
Sweden's idea of Carpathia? No. It's
like there are some game systems that I like, or settings that I like really like, but like looking at them now, I'm like,
yeah.
By a bunch of white guys.
Oriental Adventures?
No, not that one. The one I was thinking of was which we still haven't gotten to the table. That All for One Regime Diabolique, the French Horde Musketeers, right? And I'm like, oh, I mean, it's not that it's hugely different, but I'm like, okay, it's these American-based guys writing about France. Okay, right? So, I mean, not hugely bad, but just it's much better when people from the region, culture, whatever, get to write their own stories.
Because there's definitely subtleties that aren't going to be there. Yeah, and he even kind of addressed that in talking about it. It's like, how important it was for that thinking and that aesthetic. Like, they're inspired by the Western stuff, and I think even working in video game development, so they're probably developing those Western ideas, but wanting to do their own thing. It's really good to see. Yeah, so check that out on itch. So that will do it for this week. So where can people find you?
Not on the invisible chat there. Right? Sorry, I had to do that one. Social media, whatever it is. Blue Sky, Instagram, occasional Facebook groups, right? It's Hivemind, HYVEMYND, where the last thing I was doing was toy bashing some cheap safari animals for alien zoology game.
Oh, nice. So combat, or what's the
there is combat, but like alien zoology is this indie kind of skirmish game where you build a team of kind of fantasy Victorian era zoologists, right, who are going to different planets and kind of like trying to capture different animals, and you have like a zoo and you can actually kind of like breed animals and stuff like that.
Wow.
So I still haven't played it yet. It looks pretty cool, and these little toy animals all over my desk, and I told my kid what I was doing. She's like, okay, well, these two got to go to these two got to go to these two got to go to, right? I'm like, okay, so I guess I'm using these animal pairs that you've put together, right?
Nice.
It is surprisingly hard to cut apart those weird PVC plastic things, right?
You need one of those vibrating knives.
Like I was making absolutely sure to like, okay, I am definitely cutting away from myself, because the last thing I want to do is like end up with like a huge gash and go to the hospital because I was cutting apart like a cheap Chinese toy of a hippo. Right?
Yeah, right.
Anyway,
and you probably don't want to heat that stuff either.
No,
who knows what fumes come up.
Knows what it would kind of put out. Yeah. So anyway,
nice.
Yeah. Did we freeze one?
Oh, I think we froze on here. Let's find out. Did we freeze? Maybe we did. Oh, come on. I don't know. No, this is the previous one.
Right. Okay.
Oh, wait. Let's see. Are we? What? Yes. Sorry. Are we still here? Hello. Yes, but anyhow, we could be talking to ourselves at this point.
Yeah, what's different from then?
No, I think we're okay. I think it's just the Restream doesn't update the video.
Gotcha. All right.
But so I just did. I had most of the month completed, so I just did a few more Halloween cartoons and ate a bunch of weird candy. And they had, of course, in Japan they have for like a little party or whatever, a bag of 12 pieces of candy,
and one of them is
super spicy. Yeah. And it was okay. It was surprisingly
my only experience with one of those things. Like the one time we did it, nobody knew who got the spicy one. I think it went to a foreigner, and we're just like.
I can handle this. Yeah. No, I was really surprised, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't like a nice spicy flavor. It's like they just put the chemical inside the fruit thing. Because at first I was like, "Oh, this is what is the cinnamon flavor?" No, this is just hot. This is just hot. This is just hot.
Disgusting, right? Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
So they got me to eat that one on chat. So don't keep a chat open when you're eating random candies. But so that's Abuse Cartoons on both YouTube and Twitch, and pretty soon I'll have to do the November. So that's coming probably within the week. The November so I can start making cartoons for November. And but the whole month of October is available on gocomics.com/domestic abuse. And if you'd like what we're doing here with the weekly, consider becoming a weekling.
The strongest of all supporters.
And that's at patreon.com/upturntable. So just let us know what you want to see more of. If you like the news roundup for Wizards of the Coast, or you don't want to hear any more of that and just want to focus on promising and inspiring indie projects, whatever you'd like us to talk
chat.
No chat. Yeah. Do you like the chat? Do you like it? Yeah. You want to say? Yeah. So apologies for the bad start here. We crashed at the beginning because I got carried away with the digital Halloween effects. But anyhow, we will be back again next week.
Yeah. Well,
see you then.
Later, mortals.
Goodbye.